Should we trust our logic mind and always make the calculated decision? Or should we free ourselves from the control of mind and open to our body and feeling to achieve the flow of inner peace? We will look at the flip side of System 1 and System 2 with Daniel Kahneman and Timothy Gallwey. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Daniel Kahneman, in his best-selling book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, introduced a fascinating fact about how we think. Every judgment and choice we make involve using two systems in our mind. The first system is fast and automatic in comparison to the second system, which is slow and more deliberate. He named it System 1 and System 2, which represent intuitive reaction and logical thinking. Kahneman considered the first system to be the fast thinking. It is thinking done almost automatically or instinctively. It is done with almost no effort from the person, and there's no feeling of control. Kahneman explains that this is the system of thinking that is incredibly influential, more than what you think, as it influenced almost all of our regular judgment and choices. It helped humans survive through the long history of revolution by quickly avoid lions in the jungle, snakes in the bush, and also responsible for recognizing emotions and facial expressions. The goal is to automatically come to a decision by recognizing certain patterns to make it fast and effortless. If the first system is fast thinking, then the second system is slow thinking. Kahneman explains that the second system involves thinking that is more complex and more mentally draining. It takes concentration and agency of the person to process the thought. This system does require lots of energy and focus to perform logical deductive process, so less suitable for hunter-gatherers who need to make a life and death decision in the flip of a second, but more helpful for modern human beings when planning for long-term investment for the percentage of gain and loss. Kahneman provided lots of examples of why System 1 is less suitable for us today and why so many biases and fallacies are made because of it. An interesting one is the loss aversion and risk-seeking. When asked about choosing one of the two situations, either gain $10,000 with 100% chance or take 10% chance to gain $110,000, your emotional mind will give you the tendency to choose the secure option, although System 2 would tell you logically the later one has a higher expected outcome. However, if we change the question to either loss of $10,000 for sure or have a 10% chance of losing $110,000, you'll find your System 1 emotional mind tends to avoid the confirmed loss and take the later option with higher expected loss. In both situations, we've made less good financial decisions due to the influence of System 1, and we should use more of our logical mind to avoid such emotional biases. On the flip side, Timothy Gallwey, however, gave a seemingly completely opposite argument in his book, The Inner Game of Tennis. He thinks that we should trust our feelings and body and avoid using too much of your mind, not only in sports, but also many places in life. He's a tennis player and coach who taught many great tennis players. He realized a strange fact when he was playing tennis. He talks to himself. Things like, "Oh, that was a good hit," or "Damn, I should lift my right arm higher." But the strange fact is, who is talking to who? There's only one player. For clarity, let's call the teller self 2 and the doer self 1. Self 2 would constantly analyzing, judging and telling what self 1 should and should not do, while self 1 is the natural capability player already know how to play the game. Yes, your self 1 or your body already know what to do. We don't learn playing tennis or riding a bike by analyzing our mind. We learn by watching people playing tennis and ride bikes and allow your body to experience and feel it. Yourself too, the mind can analyze and have ego, like to judge the right and wrong things and ask self 1 to do what he thinks is the right move. The language it uses are words, easy to communicate and to be realized. Self 1, however, that's the physical body, including the brain, memory bank, both conscious and unconscious, and the nervous system, is an extremely sophisticated and competent collection of potentialities. Inherent within it is an inner intelligence that can learn things easily. We tend to ignore self 1 because the language it uses are image and vision, make it more difficult to identify because we can't talk out image, but we can learn by watching and observing. As long as self 2 is either too ignorant or too proud to acknowledge the capability of self 1, top performance and the status of flow will be hard to come by. We could let go our judgment and logical mind, trust your body and hit the ball relying on the instinct of self-one, that reinforce the simplest neural pathway to the optimum shot. Why are these arguments seems to be against each other? It is not the first time in history that we try to understand the thinking process by slicing it into layers. More than 2,000 years ago, Plato used Charlotte allegory to explain his view of the human soul. He claims that we, the conscious self, is a driver of a wagon with two horses. A white horse represents the noble, order, and moral judgment, while the black horse represents the power, chaos, and basic instinct. The driver needs to balance each horse at all times, like controlling your system 1 and 2. Samuel Freud elaborated his theory of the unconscious and developed a model of psychic structure comprising conscious, preconscious, and unconscious. Your conscious mind is like your system 2 that gives you an illusion of which you are making a logic decision. However, underneath is your system 1 unconsciously creating bias and prejudice. Neuroscientist Paul MacLean formulated the triune brain model, which is based on the division of the human brain into 3 distinct regions. The reptilian brain, the oldest of the 3, controls the body's vital functions such as heart rate, breathing, body temperature, and balance. The limbic brain is responsible for what we call emotions in human beings. It is the seat of judgment that we make, often unconsciously, that exerts such a strong influence in our behavior. And finally, the neocortex, with its 2 large cerebral hemispheres, responsible for the development of human language, abstract thought, imaginations, and consciousness. The neocortex is flexible and has almost infinite learning abilities. The neocortex is also what we enable human culture to develop. Those numerous different theories are telling us something in common. There's no simple answer as System 1 or Self 2 is always better than the other. They are inseparable and together make us human. However, what we should learn from it is a better understanding of how each of our decisions are made. When making an investment decision, you will be able to surface those unconscious biases and minimize the impact of emotions. And when playing a football match, you know you can drop your thoughts and judgment and let your body perform. It will surprise you how much it can do.